And then we have Hart, who also recently had an extremely successful his Kickstarter campaign.
It was an IndieGoGo campaign.
IndieGoGo.
IndieGoGo.
I'm just gonna call it crowd.
We did not choose Kickstarter because they were difficult.
So if you could all tell us a little bit about your experiences with these projects and how you did.
Kickstarter for us was a huge part of both the seasons. This season even more so than the last one. I think we originally had, for season 1 we had, beginning of high school, we had it set at like 75,000 and it jumped to 200, which exceeded everyone's expectations. So we set the second season's Kickstarter at the total budget of the first season, and it was I was actually a little afraid for a second that it might not get there, and that would have been incredibly embarrassing. But it did, and it's been awesome because it's allowed fans to have a much more, I guess, integral role in the series. We've given them people cameos, walk-on roles and stuff. It's been a really great way to also get a pre-sale out for a lot of DVDs and stuff, and to drum up interest and keep people involved with the show. So it's been a huge part of both shows, and will probably be a part of this third season as well.
And do you know words?
Sure. I've got a different perspective. So I'm the product manager at YouTube for creator programs, and that's facilitating collaboration between the creators and the product team, such that we can make YouTube a better platform to help achieve creator goals. So I'm more than curious to ask some questions and take some suggestions to here. One of the things I launched last year was the ability for you to do off-site invitation links to fundraising sites, but I think there's a lot of other great things that we can do to improve to make this process even better.
Yeah, that's great.
Mike?
Okay, my name is Mike Falzone. I do videos on the internet giving advice that no one really asks for, and I wrote a book doing that. And I kind of wrote the book as a joke. I was like, wouldn't it be nice if we can kind of do this thing as a pre-sale? And I kind of estimated how much I would need, and I asked for like $3,000, something like that. Ended up getting 10 by the end of the month. Just extremely lucky. And I think if I give you any tips on anything, it would be to kind of build up your karma points with your audience before you decide to ask them for something. You're always asking them for something, whether it's like, follow me here, follow me there, or vote for me in this contest or whatever. If you're always asking for something, as soon as you put out a Kickstarter, it's going to kind of come as kind of white noise. But if you're there and people know that you're creating stuff for them and like for free for a very specific reason, just to entertain them, and then eventually you ask for their help, they'll be more inclined to help you. I think I've been nailed.
My experience with Please Subscribe and Kickstarter, it was actually something that I didn't think I was going to get funded, so I kind of set the bar a little bit low. I asked for $9,500, and at the end of the day we raised $12,000. And it was up to the last day, the last few hours of it that we actually got funded, and then people just started throwing extra money at it. I'm like, extra money, great, that's fantastic. Yeah, you can bring it in the club. But it was a full-time job for me to kind of promote it, and at first I was like, I was a little hesitant, like I don't know if people are going to invest, I don't know if people are interested in this, and then sure enough, I had a lot of help from the community, a lot of people blew it up. Hannah was in my film and she tweeted it out and she talked about it too, so thank you for doing that. I had Hank Green, who also made a video, just making it rain. I had Hank Green make a video about it. I didn't ask him to do it, he just did it, and he at the last hour kind of blew it up and kind of put it over. So for me it was like a full-time thing for a minute. I was really promoting it, trying to get it out there, talking to a lot of people, asking them if they would help out and be a part of the project and stuff. So for me it wasn't super easy, but I'm glad that at the end of the day it got funded.
Very good, great, excellent show. My name's Hannah Hart. I do a show online called My Drunk Kitchen. It's on a channel called Harto. And what I did is I used IndieGoGo to fundraise.
That's IndieGoGo. What was that name again?
IndieGoGo. They take 4%. That's their small fee. Also, it is deposited directly into your account. But anyway, Kickstarter's great. Anyway, so through IndieGoGo, I was able to kind of give back to my community. I've been asked for a tour and for like a travel show ever since the dawn of the kitchen even happened. And so with IndieGoGo, I was able to set out a goal of $50,000. We ended up raising over $200,000, and it's awesome. And people felt like people give me so much praise for that, but it wasn't me. I didn't raise that money. Everyone contributed the money, so it's just been an incredibly, grateful experience on my end.
It's funny how they say like,
Well,
that's
good
so cool that you did
job.
that.
Way to raise that money, and you're like, no.
When in reality you're just
Yeah.
like at your house at your desk like,
Yeah, no,
this is
it's more like that. And honestly, I feel like that people should say like, wow, people are really putting a lot of faith in you, huh? Like, okay.
people believe that shit.
Yeah,
right?
the expectations are so high now. Okay.
Don't let them down, Hannah.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck. Yeah. No, but it'll be great, and it's been wonderful.
So why don't you guys tell us the differences between IndieGoGo, Kickstarter, Selfstarter, or whatever else there is? Because honestly, I have no idea.
Kickstarter uses Amazon. Oh my god. Heather, ladies and gentlemen, she don't make plans happen. She's just amazing.
Heather!
Just the sweetest peach. But yeah, so the reason I didn't go with Kickstarter, and arguably everyone has had, a lot of people have had really excellent experiences with that fundraising resource. So I'm just proposing this alternate perspective. I encountered a lot of difficulty with them because of their Amazon verification system, which is that you have to go to Amazon to get verified as a business. Like I am a business and I am actually already verified through Amazon, but it was very, very difficult for Kickstarter and Amazon to get all their ducks in a row. I couldn't get on the phone with a single human. IndieGoGo, however, is readily available, completely run by people, and it was just a much better experience for me. And like I said, the fee that they take is smaller, and the funds, there's less of a wait time between the funds being contributed to you and distributed into your account, since it's directly deposited into whatever account you've linked with it. Thank you. I'm Hannah Hart. I love IndieGoGo.
I was waiting for you to like lift the table at the end of the day.
Yeah, and then I lifted up and just says IndieGoGo.
After you get funded with Kickstarter, there is a lot of hoops you have to jump through. And I remember I was funded, and then Mike was funded, and he's hitting me up and asking me, like, what do I do? There's all this stuff. And I'm like, I know, it's like a couple days worth of work, and then like the money doesn't get into your account for like another week or so.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
And all this time you gotta keep making stuff, and you need money to keep.
It's very stressful, yeah.
You mean?
So.
I saw you writing notes, so.
Oh, no, I just wrote the cautionary tale of Kickstarter with a K and then the incendiary yarn of IndieGoGo.
You did not write that just now.
Yep.
You're disgusting.
So, how important is to communicate your message effectively to your audience? How important is the delivery of that message telling your audience, hey, I need your money?
You know, as far as like exactly where the money's going and stuff like that?
Yeah, how do you get people to give you the money?
Well,
We've got an entirely different
alright,
problem.
so a lot of people live in neighborhoods with alleys, and if the alleys are no, it's just being extremely, like to a fault, extremely transparent and extremely
To a
honest.
fault.
Right. Because you don't, I mean, think about your money. You work really hard for your money. You want to know exactly where it's going, so you're going to give it to this schmuck, yes,
Thank you.
who just makes videos on the internet. Like, well, this is already kind of a sketchy thing to be doing, and I want to know exactly where it's going, so just being as honest as possible.
Well, what I'm curious about is that, like, for instance, Dan, you and I have very different, like, approaches that we're coming from. For me, it's like I'm asking a community of people that I've been with for the last 2 years of my life, you know. And so it's like, hey guys, I'm asking you guys to help me make the thing that you have asked me to make, and I'm unable to do for you, you know. Whereas for you, you're like, hi, I'm Dan Dobi. I want to make a documentary. I mean, that is just, it's difficult because people say, oh, what's the trick? What's the trick? How'd you trick people into giving so much money? And it's like, the trick was that this is my entire life and it's what I think about all day, every day. That's the trick. So start dedicating yourselves to a purpose greater outside and then see where it goes.
I also think that I shot I shot Hannah as well as the Will of DC before I even launched the Kickstarter, so I kind of put it in the video.
Evidence, yeah.
So I had evidence, and that was my trick to say, this is what it's going to look like. You guys want to see it? Here's a piece of it. So I think without that, I think that I might not have gotten funded, possibly. But yeah, I think the trick is to showing people a taste of what it could be.
Right. You've been using your own resources. Like, you have no idea how much money Dan put in on his own to make the documentary happen. And so it's like you have to give a little to get a little, which I'm resisting making a joke. and
Sex.
But yeah, no, so I think it's true to show like, look, I'm willing to put my money, my dollar, my time on the line to show you guys an example of what this could be. So if you were able to give me a little something, think how much greater it would be if we made it together. Sex.
Babies.
So
And-
usually when people think, there's this maybe misconception, I don't know, that you need to be extremely a very big YouTuber, like have a huge audience to get whatever you need to for your project. How true is this? How important are subscribers in a crowdfunding campaign?
I think they're pretty important. For example, I have a buddy who's a filmmaker in Los Angeles, and he's one of my best friends. And before I did my campaign, he did a campaign, and he put it out there. He had a great project. He even shot a little bit of it. He followed all the rules, and he made $70.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then so I said, oh, I'm gonna do a Kickstarter. Anything? He's like, yeah, good luck. And I'm like, okay, well, I have a very baby social reach. Like I'm the smallest guy on this panel right now, and that's why I kind of made the price a little low. And I told, and I when I put it out, and he was like, you know, good luck getting funded, and we got funded, and he looked at me, he's like, I don't know how you did it, and I was like, well, it's the YouTube community, and it's like, I have been here for a while, and I think, so to answer your question, I think that it definitely, having that YouTube audience and being a part of the community is definitely super important.
Mm-hmm.
Also, make sure that what you do doesn't really cost more than $70 or so. That's a guarantee. So,
Oh, no, he was asking for $10,000, and he was able to raise just 70.
Wait, his mom didn't even give him like $50?
His mom right.
So what's interesting here is that it seems as if, from my perspective, it seems like the promotion of the campaign is key, because there's a lot of amazing creative stuff that goes on Kickstarter and IndieGoGo that doesn't get funded.
Right.
So it seems like a lot of it is just how can you get that word out? And clearly, if you start from a large subscriber base, I mean, you've got a great jump start. But that's not necessarily the case for a lot of people in this room or for a lot of other people. So thinking about different ways that either YouTube can help with the promotion of that, or helping jumpstart that is, I think, an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that a problem, or not a problem, but one of the types of issues you encounter if you already have an existing audience or community is wanting to incentivize them to give back something that they would actually want. For instance, like the perk system. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead to a question you have planned, but for me, it was about trying to like connect with my heartosexuals by giving them real, actual, physical, tangible things. That was Shira's.
I
Yeah, this is amazing. Yeah, playlist.
Convincing.
IndieGoGo.
God, you guys, you know I love about IndieGoGo. They're so cute.
Another important thing, I'm sorry, you weren't.
Perks are important. Make sure that they're personal and authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, one sentence.
I started saying after the Kickstarter thing that if you have an audience and you work hard to build an audience, you could pretty much do anything. And I come from the music world since I was like 14 years old, and a lesson I learned very early on is like, if you're a musician, you can play anywhere if you could fill the room. So if you could fill a room and you work hard to get the people into the room, you can kind of do anything. And I mean, that's the big question that everyone is trying to answer is, well, how do I get those people? And the market's so saturated and blah, blah, blah. Just make what you would want to see that's not in the world yet, and then get an audience, and then make more things.
To address also just back to the idea of having a lot more as usually a good thing. I mean, I think it varies because, obviously, if a channel like Machinima went and did a Kickstarter for a series and said like, hey, we need all your money because we don't have any,
I would
it
never
would be a little more
die.
suspect than someone that said, that had a lot of subscribers and was like, we need your money because we actually need it.
Yeah.
Right.
So there is a lot of, it's still very much personality based and there is a physical person you can look at that you have associated with, I think it helps a lot.
I think it's trust-based,
Yeah,
really.
trust, yeah.
I mean, but again, we're coming from a very niche market. We're exploring when YouTubers raise money for Kickstarters, like Kickstarter your campaign. So the questions that we encounter are much more like, what type of things would your audience want? How much money do you think is realistic? If that amount is realistic, how much are you actually going to ask for?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to people who are like, I really would like to start this app, or I want to start this line of bow ties for dogs. It's a great idea. They're so cute. Yes.
Now, recently there was another Kickstarter campaign, which was IndieGoGo. It was IndieGoGo, I believe. J. Carl just made his funding for his documentary. I'm blogging here, and his campaign was very successful. But at the beginning, it wasn't going the way perhaps people would expect from a channel with over 1 million subscribers. So and I looked through the comments of the videos, and people were perhaps. I saw some comments that actually mentioned Hannah's campaign, like, "Hey, I just gave all my money to Hannah. I cannot give you more money." So my question
Is be first.
Be first.
my question is,
first.
the more campaigns there are, the more popular this becomes. Will it get harder to get funding for every single credit?
Absolutely. Market saturation is something that's happened everywhere. It happened on YouTube. You can't bust out and be as famous as quickly on YouTube as perhaps it was once possible, just because there's so many more channels trying to do it at the same time. It's like going to LA and trying to be an actor. It's like, good luck. You are jumping in a giant ocean of other prospects to people that want to do the same thing as you. So it's tougher. And like Hannah said, the more personalized and trustworthy you can make it and offer perks, things that you can promise to your subscribers and the people that donate, that actually maintain, I think, a connection between you and the people giving the money, the more successful your campaign is going to be.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with Shay's campaign, but do you happen to know anything about like what the incentives to fundraise it would be?
You know, I think there seemed to be. I wish Shay was here,
Let me
so
ask
I don't want to
you,
speak on his behalf.
There's something about bow ties on puppy dogs.
Oh my God.
For $30 you get Hannah's DVD.
It's a $20 DVD, FYI. And the commentary is incredible.
I think the thing that was so different and unique about your IndieGoGo campaign, though, is that there's so much personalization to every gift that you had.
Literally, I just spent, oh God, it's been insane trying to fill those perks.
Yeah.
Like, we, at the time, it was really easy to make those promises because I'm like, yeah, I love to doodle. Yeah, I love to write poems. Yeah, I love to, no, I don't love to bake cookies. But so basically, what I've encountered with fulfilling those perks is that it's actually been really wonderful because I've had a team that's kind of like helped support me to make it possible. Like the collective set up us baking 1,200 cookies. They did it so well, in fact, that we ended up baking 1,800 cookies, which was really fun at the end of 6 hours. We're like, oh, we have 500 too many. That's like maybe 45 minutes of the day. But yeah, and like fulfilling like the doodles and stuff like that, it's been good trying to set kind of like a realistic thing that you can achieve.
Yeah.
And it makes me really happy. I don't know, it's nice to give people little pieces of things. All of our lives are so digital and so virtual right now.
Yeah.
That's such a weird thing to be sad about, is having 500 extra cookies.
You know how much I hate cookies? So much.
So much. To answer the IndieGoGo question, and this is, I'm not trying, if anyone is associated with the Shaytar documentary, I'm not trying to downplay it, but they have different levels. $5 you get like a newsletter every week, and at $40, this is what you get a complete download. You can download the DRM free for $40 if you've done it that much. And I think that's the wrong price point for something like that. You know, for video game high school, this is a digital age. If they want to get your documentary, they will pirate it, not pay you $40 for it. So we thought, you know, you need to compare these, you need to make it similar to how much it would be in real life. It's $10, I think, for VGHS to download it, because that's how much you buy a DVD for. So I think that may have hurt it in the long run. You also can't have perks that don't like match a price, essentially. If someone is like, I paid $100 and I got a t-shirt, they're not going to want to give $100. You know, there needs to be something that they can equate in their head to the money they're giving.
Although there have been some statistics on this as to what's like a profit maximizing price point, and the $25 to $50 range is actually a really good sweet spot. And so I think the trick would be coming up with a perk that you feel is worth that, because that's an easy chunk for a lot, or not everybody, but for a large majority of people too. So think about hitting those.
The $25 number is like one of the first tips of advice that you get if you're, I'm going to fundraise, I'm going to crowdfund a campaign. You're like, okay, well, $25 is kind of like the sweet spot. That's like the number one. And so for our campaign, we did the Eat Polygamy Certificates of Marriage, which is great and beautiful. Thank you.
So like $25 to what Jimmy mentioned, like what else is that? That's like 15,000 views. I mean, that's a lot of views, right, for just ad revenue. Or that's renting like 8 $3 movies.
Yeah.
And so you know that's people can keep up to 25. Yeah,
And I mean, think about stuff that they would want anyway. Like if
Yeah.
I was I'm a musician and I tried to write a book, which there's a million things you could say. But I gave away, music because that makes sense because I'm a musician, and things people would want anyway, like T-shirts or whatever. Things that they might already be looking into buying, like, hey, why don't you have any T-shirts? Then you make up T-shirts, and all of a sudden you have a T-shirt. So they're promoting you and helping you at the same time. So just stuff that makes sense and
And what we're exploring on YouTube is what can we help on the perk side. So like exploring models if the content itself is gonna if there's gonna be paid for it, like maybe what you're raising, the $25 goes to a free first season of a paid series or something like that.
When you guys started, now you mentioned earlier the crowdfunding, like a link, because I noticed that came in, there was like external linking came through, and then you're saying there's a crowdfunding link, it's like very specific for,
Yes.
yeah. What compelled you to create that specific one? Was it just for like tracking purposes, as opposed to like having just an external link, or,
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I mean, we wanted to have annotations link externally a lot more, but it was very, it could be abused, and so we were trying to take steps that we thought was relatively safer. And so the best first step we thought would be to do for crowdsourced fundraising sites. So we had like a little whitelist. We just started with Kickstarter and IndieGoGo, and then we have about a little over half a dozen now.
That came out halfway through my campaign, so thanks.
Oh, good. And Dan, I think it was around the time when you were doing yours as well, I think.
Yeah. I think I was maybe like the first one.
In fact, I used in the blog post. I need somebody an example of somebody who could use this.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely helped. It was just like 5 less clicks that people had to do. It's like, you want to donate? You want to go to that page? You want to see it right now?
Yep.
Click right there. So yeah. Thanks.
So one of the things we're thinking of is can we actually change the annotation to then show like an up-to-date total, right? And have the annotation be a little more dynamic, or be able to access a perk in a more easy way. So
It'd be good if you had immediate perks, like stuff that would be like, hey, if you donate, $4 or whatever, or $1, $2, you'll get this immediate perk, which would be a digital one, which would be like,
That's a really good
exclusive
idea.
video, a personalized video, or something like that. Yeah, no, man, I'm really into this stuff.
Are you
I
gonna
think
sell
about it
that
all
idea
the
to IndieGoGo or Kickstarter?
time.
Where
I don't
it pays you
know.
faster,
I
right?
don't know.
it's like a direct link, to like.
Yeah, so it's like,
downloadable
thank you so much for your
digital merch or
donation.
something
Check
like
out this video that's,
Yeah.
only you can see.
We're
for like
mailing you
this next 3
cookies
minutes.
right now.
Yeah.
Now you won 500 numbered cookies,
Yep.
limited edition.
Individually frosted signs.
Yep. Delicious. I hear they tasted good. I don't know. If any of you got them, they're pretty good, I hear. I took a bite and I was like, this tastes like a cookie.
I don't like cookies.
Ew.
You ever had a biscuit?
No.
Biscuits are great.
Biscuits like
KFC biscuits?
Yeah, like savory biscuits, guys. That's what this campaign, that's what this panel's really about. Thank you so much. Biscuits for the
Biscuits and bow ties. All right, thank you. Hot dogs and IndieGoGo.
So we're out of time, but I don't see anyone from Plays Live kicking us out.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
maybe we should go for one last question.
Doors are locked.
Crowdfunding versus traditional funding. If you can give me a quick answer.
I'll try to give you a quick answer on that because I know we're running out of time. But with crowdfunding opposed to finding either private money or having an investor, the situation is that you don't have to pay anyone back. So say for example, when Please Subscribe makes its first $1 and all of I've recouped I'm essentially an investor after Kickstarter money kicked in. Because the thousands of money that I put in myself, then I have to recoup it. But say I didn't, so say if I just did it for say $10,000, $1 is positive, opposed to say if I was a private investor, I would have to pay them the $10,000 back plus interest, which is usually anywhere from 20%, and then after that it becomes the rate becomes a little lower after a while.
Or creative control.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, giving out creative control is a big thing too. So yeah. In crowdfunding, you don't have to pay anyone back. After you make that first $1 and your recoups, you're good. You can start making money.
And for the rest of that person's life, like they helped
Yeah.
make that. And that's, I mean, it sounds kind of corny when you hear someone say it, but legitimately, something comes out, everyone has
They feel involved.
Yeah.
Exactly. They were part. They collaborated. in,
Yeah.
in an easy way.
Yeah.
Right?
We should just find a way to loop all of the panels together.
Yes.
They also collaborated, which is important. And
Yeah,
they come up,
seriously.
In a niche.
Those are really good ideas. Yeah, that's.
I say it's a no-brainer if you can do crowdsource fundraising over traditional. However, one potential caveat is realize that what you're asking for is a well that you probably can't keep going back to.
Right.
So, because your friends and family are gonna pitch in, and if it's for a particular project, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do after that? So, what I'm thinking a lot about is how YouTube can help match brands up with you for like the next season or such that you can be more sustainable or think about what can I do with this money to help create a sustainable plan going forward. Right?
Do you mean like, okay, so if you have like a YouTube crowdsource funding thing, you could say if you and your audience raise the first 1,000, YouTube will give you the next 10,000. Or something. These are all just ideas.
Wait, or you more, I think that what Andy's saying is something that I would love to just sit and watch you speak about, which would be YouTube directly integrating brands with YouTubers. I mean, that's crazy.
I know I had a sultry voice.
Mike, I kind of ignore that though, but YouTube probably wouldn't personally do that anytime. I mean, it's tough, right?
Like if we're all like, wait, would YouTube do that?
Dollar for dollar? That'd be
Excuse me,
awesome.
my wallet is overfilled. No, imagine a brand that is completely enthralled with Hannah's personality and charisma, and wants to be involved with another project. And let's say this is something completely new, and Hannah could create hey, why not create a little pilot saying, hey, here's my show number 16 that I'm going to go. That a brand can be like, wow, that looks really great. She wants to build out 12 shows. Let me contact her.
You want to bring me a Randy?
It's just that easy.
One thing that crowdsourcing does say though to brands, and this helped a lot with Video Game High School in that you raise a certain amount for the first season, it was this successful, a brand looks at that and the numbers and says, this is something that obviously did not fail, this is something that has potential, this is something that we could see ourselves investing in for the next season, for whatever else, because they had a successful first go at it, and they obviously have this built-in support, so that, it demonstrates worth.
And plus, I mean, all that data that they would be looking for their like return on investment and stuff like that, I mean, it's all there. Like this was successful and it was successful by X amount.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
We're out of time, but thank you.
Thank you guys.